Good morning. It is a Saturday. We've got the weekend to talk about. We've got good weather, but it's kind of the same weather. It has been below average temperatures for much of the state of California, especially northern and central California. We've talked ad nauseum about the fire danger being reduced, the air quality being awesome, just the good things about it. But there's the bad things about it. A lot of folks are like kind of bumming. Like if you live in Marin County right now, Mill Valley, it's like a lot of days of cool, cloudy, breezy, not sunny conditions. And it is summer, and the kids go back to school in the next few weeks. So there is sort of like this weird thing settling in. I'm not going to chime in on is this the coldest summer ever because you want to get to the end of it, right? This is a weird thing. People, oh, it's the coldest we've seen. And yeah, it is. But let's get to the end. Let's get the numbers totaled up and then decide what it is. And then we'll quantify it. Because right now you can go, yeah, Pacifica's the warmest it's ever been, right? And San Francisco, it's like you got all these different cities. It's more about the region in my mind. So as a scientist, I have learned to wait till the numbers are in. Okay, I got a couple cool things to look at today. I got a lot of cool things. Awesome Mount Shasta clouds. This was yesterday. I want to show you something awesome. We talked about it yesterday and then it happened. I also want to address something with the snake video. I don't know if you saw the rattlesnake video I did. It's awesome. It's out there. It's just I bumped into a cool snake, and then I did a deep dive into rattlesnakes, a deep dive for a meteorologist. But there is a nice gentleman chimed in and said, hey, listen, snakes in the Southwest don't hibernate, rattlesnakes. I'm like, yeah, it kind of makes sense they wouldn't hibernate, right? Because it's pretty warm down there year round. But it does turn out they brumate, right? Did you know what brumation is? Brumation is in the cooler months when temperatures get down to around 60 degrees, they go into a semi-hibernation phase where they don't necessarily go into a deep sleep, but they slow way down. So your chances of bumping into rattlesnakes in January in Phoenix, a lot less than bumping into them in August because they are external, they garner their heat externally. So brumation, I learned a lot. That's what I was saying earlier. I learned a lot from you guys. It's awesome. It's like this little petri dish of information. Like I do learn a lot of stuff because here's the thing. I was telling my son the other day, I go, I know a lot of stuff just from being on the boots on the ground for 67 years, right? And being outside like most of those 67 years. But you can't know everything. And so I get all these, like the not hibernating in the Southwest, a great example. I should have thought that one through. Of course they don't hibernate, but they do brumate. So I learned a little something there. Farallon Islands, I got a good live camera today. We talked about them yesterday. The Farallon Islands are awesome. We'll talk about warmer weather coming our way. It's going to get back pretty warm. We'll see that in one of the North American temperature model. And it's going to warm up back into the 103, 105 degree range. Not right away, though. Talk about the surf, talk about the air quality, and we'll look at the bears. I have some good bear video for you today. So here's the first thing I wanted to start with. I'll swig some coffee. Oh, just another thing. So lately I make beer, right? IPAs, they're awesome. They're really good. I use like spring water from like this beer right now is from Mount Tamalpais. It's from that spring off Highway 1. Awesome water. The beer tastes great. But I'm learning to low octane my beer because the beers are creeping up, right? Because last night I had a couple of mine which are low octane, which means, not the alcohol content's manageable. But some of the beers now, like the Torpedo, I don't know how I got here, the Torpedo Atomic, Sierra Nevada, which makes the best beers, so it's rolling like 9.2%. So one of those is like 3 Coors Lights. It's like, it's a lot. So I'm learning as I've reached this ripe old age to just kind of slow her down a little bit because the beers are powerful. I don't know, I just wanted brumation, high octane beer. I'm just covering a lot of ground here. This is the Mount Shasta shot yesterday, and I remember yesterday I said, okay, thunderstorms, which occurred last night, are going to show up today. This is early yesterday morning, and you see a little bit of cumulus clouds. You're like, well, there's not going to be thunderstorms today. Well, that's an indication because of the orographic lifting of the mountain. The clouds are going this way. You get condensation, and blah, blah, blah. Well, watch how this thing blossoms as the day gets warmer. I love this shot. So this is, right, it blossoms, day's getting warmer. It gets its push up to a level of free convection, and then it just starts to build. Builds. And look at this. What a day right off the mountain. So it just grabbed that moisture and just triggered it. And then pretty soon the sun, the daytime heating is going to trigger everything around it. See all that? Now it's everywhere. Now it's not just the mountain, which was mechanically lifted, but now it's being lifted convectively by the sun. But the sun's, right now it's banging on the ground about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then look what happens. Boom. And then awesome rain shafts. So that's your day. So when you wake up, watch this rain shaft. I love rain shafts. Here it comes. Ooh, hello, right? Isn't that awesome? Rainbow, right? It's the whole deal, man. This is the day. And that started off with this. So when you wake up in the morning in the mountains and you see subtropical moisture like that, there's a little bit today. You can see what it develops into. And it's triggered first by the mountain, but then the convective, the heating of the ground gets going. And that is a classic example of convection. And that's last night. I know, that's awesome. I love showing you things that we talk about, because then we talk about orographic lifting. You can see the clouds being pushed up, condensing, and then the ground around it heats up. And so you can kind of see all the physics or the thermodynamics principles in a picture. And for me, that's super helpful. All right, same thing this morning. We've got some clouds out there, but it's a different moisture field. It doesn't appear that there will be much activity today, although there could be. This is sunrise this morning, and you see a very different look than what we saw yesterday. This indicates to me the clouds are, the motion's going the same way, but you're not seeing a lot of moisture. It would show up around the top of Mount Shasta, 14,000 feet. Climbed it once. It's awesome. It's an awesome climb. I don't suggest doing it unless, yeah, do it. But just it's an effort. Like, learn how to climb before you go, because it's not a hard climb. Technically, it's a hard climb physically. Okay, this is the Farallon Islands. Largest bird habitat in the Pacific West coast, right? 500,000 birds live on that thing, and it looks like that. Isn't that beautiful? And Dave Shlom chimed in the other day. He's a good dude. He does the Blue Planet or Blue Dot, which is a cool podcast. I was on it once. It's really awesome. It's PBS, I think. But he said, "Did you read Devil's Teeth?" which is a reference to the shape of these islands and the fact that there are just a ton of white sharks out there. Okay, Saturday, awesome. Okay, so let's look at the Mount Tam this morning. You can see where it is, right? How deep's the inversion? Yeah, 2,000 feet, right? It's up there. So that's a big push of fog. So when we go to the visible satellite, you're going to expect to see a lot of fog pushed inland, and that's what you see. So with that live picture and a satellite image, we kind of making a bit of a forecast, aren't we? You can see the clouds up around Mount Shasta. Those are the clouds coming in the backside. Not robust. Interesting footprint here. That's fog. That's interesting. Probably the Sutter Buttes. I don't know what that is. It is fog. It's stratus, but I'm wondering if they had a shower last night and enough moisture at the surface to. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into that. So yeah, right. So this is the visible satellite. This tells you a lot of stuff. Here's the push of fog, right? So we know the marine layer is up over 2,000 feet. The coastal hills average 1,000 feet. So bam, it's in big. Let me shake down here, and then down towards Southern California. You got a big push of fog, probably burning off nicely today. You see the eddies clearing the point at Point Conception, and you can see out here at the Santa Barbara Islands, the Channel Islands, and then Catalina here, and smoke from the fire in the Grand Canyon, and look how it's getting pulled into stuff. We'll see that in the smoke model, and then you can see the Butler Fire. So this map just shows you a little bit of everything. What I'm saying is that unsettled weather is continuing, and it will continue. The unsettled weather being, see how it's kind of all looping this way? That's kind of a low pressure, just a general area, and that's battling the Pacific High, which is creating these mild conditions that will continue through the weekend, and then they change. Point Conception, Chumash Indian Land, beautiful spot. Lompoc, back over the hill, Diablo Valley, Diablo Canyon, the nuclear facilities on this side of the point, and this is Halama Beach Park. Someone chimed in yesterday and said it's part of the Santa Barbara County of Santa Barbara is in charge of this land, and that's how they turned it into a state park or a county park. Okay, this is the forecast for today. Pleasant, pleasant, pleasant. Air quality looks great today as well. But I gotta say, even this old grizzled dude who's been around for 1,000 years is like, because I like to get up in the morning and have coffee and then kind of sit in the sun. I'm all about that vitamin D, that morning sun, the dopamine hit and all that. I kind of buy that. So I usually like to go sit in the sun for about 15 minutes, drink my coffee. Not happening. Not happening. I got freaking lights going here. That's the only light I'm getting right now. And it is true. They've done seasonal affective disorder, SAD, SAD. It is a thing, and especially up towards the northern regions, up towards the northern latitudes, when you get less sunlight, it has a huge impact on your dopamine production, your D3 production, and your attitude. And they've proven it. So it's like, okay, it's not just mumbo jumbo. And they actually have, like, you probably know all this, but they actually have lights and things that you can use when you live in Alaska or somewhere like that you can kind of shine on yourself so that you get that hit of dopamine and D3. So I'm missing out. Okay, that's today. This is the long-range model. Okay, lupin. This is I show it every day because I think we're just going to live on and use this model as much as we can, because I think you're looking at it enough now. You're starting to see it. It's the problem if I start jumping models, because there's a lot, and I do jump a bunch of models before I show you what I'm showing you, just to see if everybody's kind of lining up. But this one's the one, if you can get used to looking at it, you'll see trends. And the trend right now that we're watching that has been continuing is this trough of low pressure. So remember I showed you that circulation in the low. So that's it, just a general counterclockwise flow. Here's the parent low up here. And down here is the high pressure, which rotates the other way. And what happens under high pressure? Then you get a ridge, right? And that's the ridge. This is the trough. So I'll draw it in better. I'll go trough. This is the jet stream, and then ridge. Where we are, it's cooler than average. Folks under the ridge are under extreme heat warnings. So went from this, we're actually up in the upper air, but you can tell a lot about what's happening at the surface from the upper air, even in the summer. In the winter, more so, certainly. But in the summer, you can tell quite a bit as well. Just checking for thunderstorms. This is, I think this is the North America model, and we're going to see if that moisture is forecast to do anything. This is this afternoon. So that's up around Mount Shasta, the clouds that we saw. None of this looks high grade, but there could be a thunderstorm up around Lake Tahoe. They had heavy showers yesterday. I should have mentioned that. Hail, lightning, thunder. And then up around Trinity Alps and Mount Shasta and Weed, it looks like some activity. And remember, this is just simulated reflectivity, which is meant to look like a radar, but it's a forecast. And then you see the next few days, the moisture kind of trails off. There's a little something there up around South Lake Tahoe on Monday afternoon. And then we start to get into some heat. And this looks like we get a little monsoonal moisture starting to come in as well. This is on Tuesday afternoon. So with that said, these are the forecast highs for tomorrow. Warmer, that's Sunday, but still Sacramento at 90 degrees. It's pretty pleasant, man. Sacramento's awesome at 90 degrees. Desert Southwest just bakes. That's just, I could never, I love you guys down there, and I know a couple of you guys are from there, but it just seems like it'd be gnarly. 110 degrees in Yuma. I mean, right? You're living in the movie theater, right? When I was growing up in Paradise, when it would get hot, because like I said, air conditioning was a premium in the 60s. We'd go down to the movie theaters and go to matinees, and that's how you would beat the heat back in the day. I mean, now people have air conditioning, but it was I remember, dude, we had a swamp cooler in my window growing up as a little kid, and they're kind of awesome swamp coolers. We'd run a hose over a coil, and then you blow air over it, and blah blah blah, and you cool the air. But air conditioning was it wasn't, I guess it was kind of a rich guy thing. And we weren't poor, but we weren't rich. But we'd go to the matinees. I'll bet you can remember that too. Okay, if you live in the desert Southwest, can you just chime in a little bit and go, hey, listen, this is how we survive, or this is how we don't survive, or we brumate. Maybe you brumate like the snakes, right? Well, that would be the opposite of, you could brumate. Yeah. Anyway, that's tomorrow. Here is the forecast model. So here we go. We're looking at the GFS, am I? Yeah. And this is temperature. So this is today. So see how these temperatures are 92, 90. Bakersfield's going to go 95. That's today, this afternoon. Here's tomorrow afternoon. And then you see a little more warmth. 94 on Sunday. 95 in Bakersfield on Sunday in the hot spots. So it's still, I'm calling that mild. And then things start to change around next week. So here we go. See the purples coming in? This is Monday. Now we're into 101 in Bakersfield, 95 or 99, 100 degrees in Redding. So somewhere around Monday afternoon, we start seeing the temperatures increase in the Central Valley. And then, hope you can follow this okay. Then you're getting, what do you got? Buck 4 in Redding on Tuesday. This is all next week. So the Central Valley goes back to its old antics. See that cooler air along the coast? It's more typical summer weather. So this is not, none of this is anomalous, like, oh, this is crazy talk. It's just anomalous based on the weather that we've had. This is just, it's much warmer than it's been. And the Central Valley's been in the 80s, right? So now we're back into the low 100s. This is Tuesday afternoon, and let's go one more day. And then you can see it's into Wednesday. So, right, still hot. So starting on Monday into Tuesday, we have, I just keep looking at purples. That's on Thursday afternoon. So none of it, but again, when I look at this, it's a little cooler on a week from now. But it's none of this is out of control. The only thing that's changing is it's going to get more typical weather for this time of year. Fire danger will come up a little bit, but I'm not seeing signatures of anything that appear to be, the heat is a signature, but in terms of wind and lightning and stuff. So we'll keep an eye on that. This is the watchduty.org, and it is looking pretty good for this time of year. It's awesome, and you'll see that depicted in the smoke models. And pull out a little bit. I mean, Oregon's always lit with fires. Same with Washington and Idaho. The Grand Canyon fire down here, that thing's kind of a beast. It's at 58,000 acres, 81% containment though, so they're crushing it. So what I just showed you was fires, not a big deal right now, being managed beautifully by CAL FIRE. And one of these days I got to get a hold of some of those CAL FIRE guys. I want to ask how they're managing differently this year, because I think I know, which I think we've talked about it, but I think it is interesting. I love what they're doing. I really do. I think it's a new precedent in firefighting, which is letting these fires, trying to allow, based on weather forecasts, weather conditions, trying to let these fires clean out the areas. Because again, I go up in those areas a lot, especially up around the green fire, and it's horrible forest. It's not a healthy forest. It's lush, but just dead stuff everywhere. And that's dangerous. So getting rid of that is awesome. This is the Central Valley. This is Red Bluff. Red Bluff I love because it's still a cowboy town. You get out into some of these ranches, there are real cowboys up there, and we used to go to the Red Bluff Roundup every year when I was a kid. And it was like you have rodeos, but then the Red Bluff Roundup was like the local kids. It was awesome. I used to know some people like I think Lori Halfling, who was a gal that I went to high school with, is part Native American woman. She was a heck of a barrel racer. But you'd go and you'd see your friends in the rodeo. This is Red Bluff, and I really pulled that up because I wanted you to see the clean air. And then this is PurpleAir, which takes a little while to load, but we'll get a quick look at the air. And I show air quality more and more now because I'm realizing as I get older, and I said this the other day, how the importance of good air quality. This is from the Canadian smoke, right? And it's hot. We got big heat in the nation's midsection, big heat. So it's continuing, millions of people under high heat warnings. And then on top of that, in the Chicago area, you've got air quality that is not healthy at all. West Coast looks good. West Coast of the United States looks good. I mean, look at that. And then this is where the air quality is bad. A lot of these yellows, a little bit of car pollutant, a little bit of factory stuff, but these reds and purples are bad. And they got it bad. I mean, they got it bad. Up in Burlington, Vermont, Montreal looks really nasty right now. Not as hot in Montreal. We can see where the heat advisories are. Or actually, here's the smoke. This is from the fires that are still raging. Isn't that crazy? And you want to talk about something that affects climate, smoke, right? It basically gives the raindrops something to coalesce on, because when water vaporizes, I used to have cloud physics, Kathy Felton, but I can't remember everything exactly. But when you have a particulate matter small enough, the water vapor can cling to it and coalesce, and you get more rain. You get the raindrop building, and so these clouds, this smoke, really does have an impact somewhere in the world. I'm not on it in terms of where it's going or who it's going to get sucked into. But if you see a weather system sucking this in, chances are you're going to see probably a measurable amount of extra rain. You can correct me on that if you want, but I think that's pretty true. Here is the smoke. Here is the watches and warnings. My concern right now is for, Minnesota, right? And we saw the air quality. There's big air quality alerts here, but unfortunately they're not baking hot. But these areas, these purples and oranges, oh my gosh, these are extreme heat areas, and that's millions of people. And again, I say this so often, but in terms of weather, heat's the thing. That's what is the most damaging to people's health. I worry about pets, old people, unhoused people, and just little kids. Because if you don't have somebody taking care of you, and that doesn't have if you're a dog, I can't tell you how many times I've seen people on the running track over here with their dog, and it's 98 degrees, and down on the surface where the pet is, or where the child is, or where the homeless person is, or the unhoused person, it's 115. Because you heat up the concrete, then it re-radiates back heat, and it just keeps building up. So heat is the thing, and then you add air quality to that, you got something. And I don't want to be morose, but it is the thing that kills most people, and it's one of those things that you can't put your finger on. Somebody dies of a heart attack, could have been induced by the heat. Somebody dies of respiratory issues, could have been induced. These heat exacerbates pre-existing conditions. I know. When I see heat like that, when I see it over that large an area, it kind of freaks me out. Just because I think about, 90 degrees in Minneapolis with 60% humidity. Boston, thank goodness, is only 78 degrees, but they got horrible air quality today. So does Caribou. So there you go. These are the forecast highs for today. West Coast, and we can do this, right? Where's the trough? There's the trough. And where's the heat? Right under the ridge. Heat's all under there. Cooler air's in the trough. And that holds true all winter. Now, this is a surface map, and that was an upper air. I'm tracing in the upper air around the surface map. So we talked about yesterday a little bit, the importance, 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, the importance of seeing the atmosphere in 3 dimensions. So what we just did, this is looking at the atmosphere in 3 dimensions. You go, okay, here is the trough, here's the ridge, right? Well, underneath that, superimposed on that, I put the jet stream, but underneath the surface, now you got everything, but from the surface to that jet stream, what's going on? There's a lot of stuff going on. And that's why we have different levels of the atmosphere, different models for different levels of the atmosphere. That's why we send balloon soundings up to see what is between the surface and aloft. And that's weather, essentially. Okay. 6 to 10 day outlook, that's where we were. Looks like below average temperatures, right? Continue, but it's going to start to warm up as we get into next week. So especially in Redding. So they'll go back into the, Tuesday, Wednesday, next week, Redding. You guys are going to be back at $104. Here's the rain, 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook. Interesting. That's nice. That's awesome for fires, right? That smoke and the fires. They do have fires in the Pacific Northwest. And this is actually extratropical. So it looks like, or not extratropical, but it looks like most of the water is coming in from this direction, from the Pacific. So that would add to some water on some of those fires in the north. Whew. Okay, we're done. We're not done. Now we're at the back half of nature snacks. There's nature snacks on the top end. What I said, though, is we've got a nice weekend ahead, but more of what's happening right now, which is, I know some people are getting married up at Sea Ranch, and it's like Sea Ranch, it's up in Gualala. And it's going to be, there'll be a little bit of sun, but it's going to be a cool day for sure. It does start to warm up, though, as we go into Monday and Tuesday in the Central Valley. Coastal areas are going to remain kind of coastal. The fog's not going anywhere anytime soon, but the Inland Valley will garner some heat, and that'll bleed a little bit into the Bay Area and into the part of the LA Basin. Santa Cruz, tide's going high, swell, not that big right now. It's kind of small. And you can see the marine layer offshore. I love that shot. I love the way the sun hits the cliffs. One time, I loved it. Whenever I look at this cliff, I think of this. Sorry, I got to go, Tim. I'm running out of time. But Flea, Daryl, who was one Mavericks. He was a very famous surfer back a few years back. When he was a little kid, I used to see Vince Collier and all these the locals at the lane. The lane was super local. Like it was like it's not like that now, but it used to be pretty local. But I saw Flea, if you know who he is. He's a nice kid. He does a lot of pro bono or a lot of work for veterans and just helps out. He's a great community advocate. But he jumped on a bike, somebody's bike, one of his buddies, and rode it off the cliff. And I was sitting right here. I'm like, what just happened here? I mean, it's like, it was so funny. Whenever I see that point, I go, yeah, I remember Daryl riding off the freaking cliff. He probably remembers it too. Okay, so this is, where are we today? This is, Trestles, lower Trestles, pretty quiet, right? Look how close in they are. That's because the swell's so small, right? When it gets bigger, the reef extends out and the bigger waves react to a deeper bottom. But when it's small, you have to get pretty shallow for that wave to break. And these are folks, it's funny because my wife used to always ask me, well, what do you guys talk about out there? Dude, there ain't a lot of talking. It's like, even on a day like today, there's not a lot of talking because nobody's getting waves, right? I mean, there may be, but not many. Well, let's see. Let's do this move. Let's see if somebody gets a wave. Oh, that's cool. They got a wave. So here comes a set. Okay, got a wave. There's not a lot of waves. Oh, it's kind of fun. Just a little while ago. But these guys are going, God darn it, why didn't I get that wave? How long is it going to be before the next set? It's like, I know. Okay, so here's Dollar Point. And you see the moisture out there. Yeah, this looks like it's got the potential. Mount Shasta looked a little less aggressive, but this does look like it has a potential for some thunderstorms again today. They had them in Lake Tahoe. They had hail, they had rain, had the whole bit. And that looks like we're back in the forecast again today. Beautiful glassy conditions on the lake. And again, we talked about yesterday how the cumulus clouds ring the hills of the around Lake Tahoe. The orographic lifting, right? A mechanical lifting. Then when everything gets hot, it'll blossom everywhere like it did at Mount Shasta. Yeah, that's a bear. That's a bear right there. Now, can you believe this goes on 24/7? This kind of activity, the salmon running up Brooks Falls. And the bear, I'm surprised there's not more bears yet, but there's one bear in particular that's giant. They can get up to like 700-800 pounds. I think I can't remember if it's the males or the females, sorry. These are brown bears, not grizzly bears. And they're bigger than grizzly bears. And they're probably not as mean. Grizzly bears they're kind of, I'm just gonna say it, because I've had encounters and I've been around grizzlies. They're kind of dicks. They are. And I actually talked to a guy one time who got mauled by a grizzly bear. And the story is like, that bear's a dick. Because he just chased him down and then let him go, then bit him a bunch more. And then it was a guy that went back to the parking lot and did the YouTube video. He's a ranger. But anyway, I love this shot. So that goes on all the time. And the puffins, right there's one right there. Awesome. This is East Coast puffins, but I just like the puffins. I wonder what that is. He doesn't look like a puffin. Okay, who knows what that is? Is it I don't know what it is. Puffin burrow cam. Okay, East Coast puffins, then jellyfish. Okay, I'm going to roll. Hope you have a great day. I think we got into a lot of interesting stuff today. I appreciate all the texts and correspondence. If you're still here, a thumbs up would be awesome. If you don't want to do that, I don't blame you. But it just, because I'm in this room alone with some lights, so it's nice to know you're out there. Because, I mean, I would do this anyway. It's weird. But it's nice to know you're out there. So throw a thumbs up or something. And if there's something you need, let me know. We'll get it done. I'll talk to you